Good morning, world. My name is Matthew Segesser. I consider myself a Taoist in life. That is, one who follows the philosophy of the Tao. Tao is an ancient Chinese word which means the way, and is an ordering principle that makes cosmic harmony possible. Taoism originated in the 4th century BC with the Book of Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. The Tao is an elusive and intangible concept, but its inner workings can be understood by viewing nature. Water is the classic example of Tao's secret power. Water always flows downhill, is happy to reside in the lowest valleys, nourishes all living things by itself, is flexible enough to slip through the tiniest holes or to fill the vastest oceans. It is gentle enough to invite people to play in it on a hot summer's day, yet it also has the potential force to cut through rock and carve out rivers with time. The cornerstones of a life of Taoism, as glimpsed at through the observance of water, are moderation, compassion, humility, and natural simplicity. These teachings really resonate with me, and today I fully trust in the way to help guide my fate, much like how Christians trust in God to help them live more positive, fulfilling lives. When I was young, I was raised a Christian by my grandmother until elementary school, because her only daughter had just had a stroke, and my dad looked after my mom while she was in rehab. My grandmother was a retired school teacher, very strict and purist, but incredibly caring, who worked hard to instill values and good manners in me at an early age. I can thank her for setting the foundation for the rest of my Tao life, even though it may not have been her intentions at the time. I still hold her Christian teachings in my heart, despite them not coming as naturally to me as Taoism later did. Once my mom had recovered, I then went to live with my parents, an experience which broadened my horizons. Growing up, I tended to be drawn towards various Asian aspects of popular culture, such as video games, comics, movies, and anime. One of my favorite cartoons turned out to be a modern take on the classic Chinese novel, Journey to the West, called Dragon Ball. It told the story of a monkey-tailed boy who set off on a journey to train in martial arts, making friends out of past enemies and constantly striving to perfect himself, eventually enabling him to save his world many times over. Goku and his friends were big inspirations to me, and along with the urgings of my dad, who had done judo in his younger days, I decided to take up a martial art in order to learn self-defense, to train my mind, and to preserve overall good health. All throughout high school, I practiced a Korean style of karate known as Subak-do Mudakwan, an unarmed, hard style that teaches the connection between the body's mental, spiritual, and earthly energies. I find it interesting that the founder of my original martial art was greatly influenced by Chinese thought, and therefore Taoist concepts further pervade me. My exposure to Asian culture continued when I was accepted into the Governor's School for Visual Arts, where they just so happened to focus on Asian art history exclusively my senior year, much to my delight. It was here that I knew what my true calling was going to be. Before, I only superficially incorporated Asian elements into my artwork. However, after actively learning and delving deeper into the culture through school and by my own driven studies, I became enlightened to just how righteous it all truly was. I started making connections and realizing the common threads between the stories I was reading, the everyday interests I held, and the ways my conscience began to think and act. And eventually, I was presented with the Tao Te Ching by my aunt, and my uncle introduced me to the I Ching, a Taoist book of divination. At the culmination of my years of passion and scholarship in the Asian arts, I held my own solo exhibit my senior year, showcasing the vast quantity of art I had made, all with a common Chinese theme, which by then I understood to be Taoism. Since graduating, my interest in Taoism has only expanded. Here in Richmond, I love simply going on walks by myself and exploring the great beauty and mysteries of nature. I try to be mindful of my impact on the environment and work to preserve life in the natural world. I eat a pescatarian diet, which is primarily vegetarian, with the permission of seafood in moderation, both because I know no good comes from farming animals for meat and because of the diet's health benefits. I try to decrease my selfishness and my desires. I try to think of other people's well-being first and work to make them more comfortable. I only take what I need when I need it and enjoy living a reserved, peaceful life without much needless stress. I like to live a good, long Tao life in order to help more people also live good lives. During my time in college, I've taken up another martial art that is even closer to Taoism than my original style. I now present to you Professor of Tai Chi and Philosophy at VCU, Mr. Jonathan Shear.
Associate Professor, been teaching at VCU part-time since '87, and I was founding managing editor of the Journal of Consciousness Studies. My professional focus 50 years ago became Asian meditation experiences wherever they're found in the world, and their significance for philosophy, Western philosophy and psychology, and research in these areas. The mythological origins of Tai Chi, which may be largely correct, there's debates in China. A guy named Zhong Song Feng, around 900 years ago or so, 1,000 years roughly, he was said to have been a Taoist master and also master of external hard martial arts, Shaolin. And the story is he watched a crane and a snake fighting, and he saw how the snake did almost nothing and just slightly got out of the way, almost motionless, and then bam, got the crane. But he wanted to put that into martial arts, and that became internal martial art, where instead of clashing with force, you attempt not to clash. It's called double weighting, this power and this power, and the physically stronger, if you both, all of the things equal, wins. So in Tai Chi, you never want to meet power against power. You have to be subtly attuned to where the power is, and then you alter it. So as you know, in doing Tai Chi, and this is why it's a Taoist art, the Tai Chi, the external part wants to train the organism to flow like water, more comfortably, fight it less, fight the world less, move with the world, and then maybe you can help it move in this way or that. When the body has got tension in it, it makes the emotions tension. You're less flexible physically, you're less flexible mentally, you're less flexible emotionally, and the less flexible we are, the more damage we take. And the more flexible we are, the more we can adapt. You have a big force coming here, a little force like that finger, it'll just break. If your timing is right, no matter how small this is, this finger can push it that way. It's called perpendicular vector. It will not, they don't interact. This keeps going just as fast, but here it gets deflected that way. So that's how, in principle, a good Tai Chi player can move a punch away with a very, very, very tiny force. Now that's only in principle, it's not easy to do, but that's the training so that you pick up less stress because you're more in cooperation with the environment and you're safer. So that's from the outside in your culture. Most people in the world, including in China, do it for its health properties. It's a moving yoga. It's exercise, it's balance, it's yoga, but every little detail is also martial art. So that's on that level for health. Of course, if you can defend yourself better, you're going to live longer, be healthier. But our big opponent all day, every day is gravity. So the better the bones sit, the better the muscles sit, the better the organs sit, all of that. And so the more we're accustomed to dealing with forces in our environment without fighting them, accommodate, keep your balance, accommodate. In Tai Chi sparring, it said, give up self when the person attacks. Get comfortable, then you apply your technique. So if you give up self and get comfortable, and everybody's comfortable, you may not even have to do anything. Then that produces a different platform for living. It's freer, purer, And it's associated with very nice feeling. It's very nice. So you live life more clearly, more freely, and feel much better. As a result, you're more generous, get along with things. And we're uptight, this muscle, that one, this thought, that one, this one, because there's all these unresolved pressures. In that deeper state, everything's gone into equilibrium. And if the nervous system tunes itself to that equilibrium, you come out and you get along with things in life better. So that's the Taoist view, to learn somehow to get along with all the flows of life and flow better.